everybody, it's Brenda Chris with Movement Mortgage. It's time for my Monday Mortgage series. This week I wanted to direct my attention towards young people. Young people that don't have credit, we're going to talk about that, or young people that have credit that is already got some issues with it. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the Credit Reporting Bureau itself. When we pull a credit report, it's got 3 different scores on it: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Different creditors report to different bureaus. So if they report to all 3, then you'll have that information with all 3. If they only report to TransUnion and Equifax, then only those 2 bureaus are going to factor in that particular piece. So the algorithm can be a little confusing, but the main thing to remember is that you need 3 trade lines. So one of those trade lines must absolutely be a revolving credit card. So you can get a secured card, just about any bank. If you're under 18, your parents can get you a secured card. It's called a student card. I know Wells Fargo has one. There's a couple of different banks out there that you can call around and get one. The main thing with once you get a credit card is never max your card out. You only want to put anywhere between $10 to $30 on it, and then you want to pay it before the due date. You don't ever want to be late on it. If you're late, that kills your score. Anything in the 12-month previous reporting cycle, if there's a late in there, it is going to ding your score so bad. So that piece of the pie, that one little piece of the pie is 30% of your score for a credit card. So make sure you have one. You keep your balance between $10 and $30. You pay it before the due date, and you're never late. So set it up on automatic drafting, have overdraft protection on that account. Whatever you need to do, make sure that you pay it on time every month and that you have a very small balance. I tell people the 15th of the month is credit day. Use that card one time, put it away till next month. All right, so let's see. A variety of credit is the next thing that I wanted to talk about. You're going to start with the credit card. That is the most important piece because that is such a big chunk of your score. The other piece is credit bureaus like a variety of credit. So your credit card is one, an installment loan is second. That could be a small auto loan, could be a small personal loan. You could take out $1,000, put that in a bank account, use that money to pay yourself back each month. You have a trade line. The next trade line could be student loans, or could be your rent, could be anything that you pay on regular and recurring. So you could do alternative credit where you take your cell phone bill. You can take 12 months of anything you pay on time, call the bureau and say, add this to my report. And they will get with whoever it is that you're making the payments to. They will verify they've been paid on time, and they'll do this over the phone with you. And then that can be added to your trade line. So that's a good way. And I think a couple of the bureaus are letting you self-report utility bills. So speaking of student loans, they can kill your credit, and they can kill your credit bad. When you have student loans that are in deferment, don't assume that the credit bureau the student loan creditor is going to call you and inform you that those payments are coming due. So many times I see credit reports where they don't report you late once. You may have one payment you pay to the student loan folks, but there may be 15 little loans that you have within that one loan, and they report all of them late. So that can really ding your credit bad and fast and for a long time. So know your student loans, know when those dates are, know when those payments are going to come. Call them, don't assume. So that's a big one. Make sure you keep up on that. The longer you have a card, the better off you are. So payment history factors into your score pretty significantly. So I know sometimes people will think, well, maybe I should pay this card off and close it because this card is a higher interest rate than my other cards. No. You want to keep the card you've had the longest. So it doesn't matter what the score or what the interest rate is on that card if you don't owe them any money. So, and even if you do, you want to keep that card and pay it down. You never want to close credit. The way credit works is you have a big credit line. So say you have 3 credit cards and they all add up to one big balance. They're going to take all of the amounts you owe, divide it by all of the available credit, and that's going to be your percentage of utility. So say you have a $300 card and a $100 card. They're going to add that together. It's going to be $400, and then they're going to take how much you owe. You don't want to owe more than 10%, so you don't want to owe more than 40. So you don't want to owe more than 30 on one and 10 on the other. So that's how revolving credit kind of works in a nutshell. What else did I want to talk about? We talked about 3 trade lines. So if you have 3 trade lines, one could be your credit card, one could be your car loan, one could be rent. So say you are paying rent, you're living with family and you're paying rent every month. Make sure it's trackable. I can only use it to qualify you for a mortgage if you pay by check, you pay by Venmo, you pay by money order, something where I can show that that money came out of your account. Otherwise, I can't prove that it came from you. If you just handed cash to your parents, that doesn't prove that you paid them. It doesn't prove you had the money to give them. There's no track record there. So make sure if you want to use rent as one of your trade lines that is paid in a source that's trackable. And if it is a money order, make sure that it's being money pulled out of your bank. You're not going to Walmart and giving them cash, because then that money order does no good. We can't show where it came from. So tracking things is really important. Let's see. Car insurance can be something you can add to your credit bureau. Again, that's something that you need to make sure that you are paying systematically on time out of your bank account, and we can track it and source it. If you go directly to a vendor and you pay them at the site, that doesn't help because there's no way to track that. What else? The biggest thing that I see on people's credit reports are medical bills, cell phones, and utilities such as cable accounts. These 3 companies they're not very forgiving. They don't tend to cooperate very well, and they don't always tell you owe them money, and they continually report you late every single month. So the biggest thing is when you're switching between cell phone providers, you need to call them. If you're switching from Sprint to Verizon or Verizon to T-Mobile or whatever the case may be, you need to call that previous company and say, hey, are we square? Do I owe you any money? Make sure, because once they they can ruin your credit over $50. So it's really important to follow up on that. The same thing with cable boxes. You turn that cable box in and then they don't record it, or make sure you get a receipt, because I see this a lot. People say they turned the box in, the cable provider says they didn't. Who's going to win in that situation? You have your paperwork, you can go down there and argue with them, but if you don't save that receipt, there's not a whole lot you can do other than pay that darn thing to get it off there. What else? Authorized user. You can be added as an authorized user onto somebody else's existing account. So say you have a parent that has a credit card that they've had for a very long time. They owe a very low balance on it and they've never been late. That can help your credit score significantly. So that is an option. You don't want that to be the only thing in your credit report though. So get your own credit, and then you could also add one trade line as an authorized user. Let's see. I think that is the majority of what I wanted to talk about today. So again, if you have questions about a specific scenario, or you want to run something by me, you just want me to pull your credit and put a plan together for you, by all means call me. I'm happy to do that. There's no charge for that. My email is brenda.christ@movement.com. And if you'd like to apply on my website,